It is payday, so you know what that means. Let's budget my paycheck together. If you're new to my channel, my name is Allison. I'm 29 years old. I post a lot of content about my personal finances, debt payoff journey, and just lifestyle content, work-life balance, and just life in my late 20s. I work part-time as a radiation therapist in healthcare, and I also do content creation part-time. These paycheck breakdowns are typically just the money that I'm making from my actual job because it's consistent, standard income that I'm getting every 2 weeks. I was gonna mention this, I thought about it in my last video. The only reason I don't do like a separate social media paycheck breakdown is really just because it's not that exciting. I budget all of my bills and expenses from the money that I make from my job. And then social media income, literally I get paid, I save some for taxes, and then I'm basically putting the rest towards my car at the moment to pay that off or saving for a house. So it doesn't really get broken up any kind of fun, unique way. It just kind of one lump sum goes in a certain spot. So really do any separate budgeting for that. I'm not like trying to hide anything. I don't make like a ton of money from social media. I make some money, but I do share it usually on the spreadsheet that I use, but I just don't like go over it specifically because again, it just goes right towards my car loan. With all of that being said, let's get into today's paycheck breakdown. This is for the paycheck that I got on March 7th, and I get paid every other Friday, which is pretty standard, I would say, for a lot of jobs, definitely in healthcare. This pay period, so it's for the previous 2 weeks, I worked 57.7 hours. I did work a little bit extra. I got almost 10 hours more than what I'm like scheduled to work as part-time. Definitely like the extra money, and it helps. And again, just in this case, it was more money that went towards my car loan. My paycheck was $1,867.86, and I only had $30.76 carry over from my last paycheck because we were spending money. It's fine. That leaves me with $1,898.62 to budget with for the next 2 weeks. And again, as usual, I just used my little notes app on my phone to kind of keep track of everything that I know is coming out during the next 2 weeks, and then I keep track of any purchases that I make because I keep like a leftover money section, and then anytime I make a purchase I take it out of there so that in my head I know how much I have left, because sometimes in your bank account, you know, the money doesn't come out right away, or like for example, one of my bills doesn't come out for like, you know, it doesn't come out right away on payday. So I want to make sure I know which money is set aside for bills and expenses, and then which money is like what I have left over. So I try to keep track as best as I can on here because it doesn't always update like right away in your bank account, or again, you have extra money in there, but it's set aside for like a specific bill. But this is a system that works for me. We'll get right into the expenses. I am gonna set aside $400 for my rent. Again, this is basically half of the rent. I set aside $400 from one, $450 from my second paycheck of the month, and then pay it for the next month. Our total rent actually is only $850. We live in a very cheap area. It's crazy because when we moved back to this area, it was like shocking how cheap the rent was because we lived like outside of Boston and the rent there is insane. So when we moved back here, we were like, this is so nice. We're gonna save so much money, which is why we're staying here for, you know, the next year at least, to save a lot of money and not have to pay like a mortgage or anything. Then into my emergency fund, I put $50, and then into our joint savings account, which is basically our house saving fund or emergency, like joint emergency fund, but mainly house fund. I put $150, and we both contribute to that every single paycheck. Into an account set aside specifically for groceries and like household items, we both put $125 into there. Then I'm gonna take a look at any subscriptions that are coming out during the next 2 weeks. I kind of have quite a few. Subscriptions kill me. They kill me. 5 subscriptions during the next 2 weeks. The first one was Canva. This is like a random number. It's $13.17, but it's because I had like cash back on my card. So when I paid it, it was really only, like, it's $15, but it came out to me only getting charged $13.17. Then I have to pay $2.99 for Apple storage, I believe it what it is. I don't even know. Nobody really knows what that charges, but my phone kept telling me I was running out of storage or whatever, so I pay $2.99 a month. And then my Aura Ring subscription, that is $6.35, and Netflix is $15.49. And then lastly, I pay for Epidemic Sound for copyright-free music, and that is $19.07, which means my total subscription cost for the next 2 weeks is $57.07. Funny because they're all so small, but they add up. It really adds up, and it's frustrating, but it's fine. Then the next thing is my cats. I have 2 cats, and I'm gonna need cat litter and cat food during these 2 weeks, and that is gonna be $70 roughly. It's usually a little less. I try to budget overestimate just a little bit. It'll probably be like $65 to $70, but then I did also put $30 towards one of my credit cards just to, again, pay that off. I use my credit cards pretty much for every purchase just to get points and things like that. Like, all my subscriptions are on credit cards. My, like, gym memberships go on credit cards. Gas goes on credit cards, but I usually just try to pay it off right then and there, so I don't carry a balance, but I'm getting all the points. Because, pro tip, if you have credit cards, definitely look into like subscriptions and stuff, because my Chase credit card, I get like 3 times the points for certain subscriptions if I set them up to get paid to my credit card. Anytime my Netflix charge goes, I get 3 times the points. And obviously, if I'm paying for Netflix, I might as well get the extra points for it if I'm going to be paying for it anyway. That's how I look at it. And same with gas, because most credit cards have some kind of gas reward system, which I know some people don't care about the points or whatever. It can also help with your credit score, which it has for me. Obviously, if you don't have a good relationship with credit cards, which I didn't for a long time, it's not the best option. You know, if you feel comfortable using your credit cards, I highly suggest using them. So yeah, anyway, I put $30 towards my credit card to pay that off. And then the last thing is my Pilates membership, which is $195 for the month, which is fairly expensive, and I don't know how much longer I will continue to do it. I do like it a lot, and you know, it's something that has gotten me back into working out, and because I pay so much to go, I use the classes and I go. I'm not sure, I'd have to look at my contract, because I'm not sure if I signed up for like a certain amount of months that I'm committed to or anything like that, but I do see myself stopping that eventually this year at some point. And then basically kind of what I did from there was like add that up, see where I was at in the budget, and then decide what I can put towards my car loan. The car payment was due no matter what from this pay period, and my actual car payment is $332.60. I always try to at least round it up to like $350, and then if I can put more towards it, I will. When I added everything up, I found that a good number for me to put towards my car loan was actually $450, which is awesome. So I'm putting like basically an extra $117 towards my car loan this month. I do plan to put a little bit more towards the car loan and some social media money that I'm going to be getting later in the month, so that's exciting. My main goal right now is to pay off that car loan as quickly as I can, because once that is out of the way too, like our main goal right now is to get ourselves in a situation where when we buy a house, we'll feel really, really comfortable. Because for example, if I cancel my Pilates membership and I don't have a car payment, that's so much extra money per month that like I'll be able to feel more comfortable with buying a house. One, for like the mortgage and bills and whatever, and also for any like renovations we want to do, or like furniture that we're going to need to buy, like anything like that. It's going to be so helpful to have all of that extra money. So we're kind of like grinding now and putting in the work now, so that when we want to buy a house in like a year, we'll be like relatively debt free. My husband will probably still have student loans because he has a lot of student loans, but he will have no credit card debt, which is what he's working on right now, and I will have no car loan. That's super exciting. And like in our heads too, like the amount that we're putting into saving for a house, like in the next 10 to 12 months, will also like help us have so much more for our down payment, or like moving costs, possibly like furnishing some stuff, closing costs, whatever. So we feel good about the money that we're setting aside, plus the extra money that we're putting towards our debt. In a year, we're gonna be in like such a good spot. Like, fingers crossed, obviously things can happen, but yeah, that is the goal. And it feels really good to see the car loan numbers going down. At the end, I'll do my car loan update for you guys to share where we're at in that journey. The last thing that I'll budget for is gas for the 2 weeks. And I budget usually $100 for gas because I go into work 3 days a week and I have an hour commute one way. So I do drive a lot. It's less than what I was driving before. So then if we add all of that up, it comes to $1,627. And then I'll subtract that from the number that I had to budget with in the beginning. And that leaves me with $271 for the next 2 weeks. And I like to leave it a little bit higher than like what I would expect, just because like things do come up and I'm just a girl and I like to spend money. And even $270 like is not like a ton of money. It leaves me with enough to buy stuff and like budget what I want, like what I feel like is necessary and not necessary during the next 2 weeks. But it also doesn't allow me to like spend too much money. So I feel like that's a good thing for me personally. Like, everyone's different. Some people like to have a lot more in their checking account, like week to week, just because they feel more comfortable with that. You know, if anything really were to come up, I could use my emergency fund money. I just like to keep that separate. So like, I have money that I could use to like buy stuff if I like needed to, but I try not to. So that's why I keep it just separate. For me, again, personal finances are so personal. Like, everyone's different. Some people have a better relationship with money. Some people don't. Some people have a shopping problem like me. I've found that keeping this number lower is better for me because then I can't overspend. Like, I know this is how much money I have to spend. You can't spend any more than that. You just kind of have to figure out like what works for you, what you think is going to work for you long term. Sometimes it takes some trial and error as well. That is the budget as usual. Feel pretty good about it. Let's take a look at my spreadsheet. So I'm going to add in anything that I can add in onto my spreadsheet. That way everything's nice and cohesive and looks nice and pretty on my spreadsheet. You guys know I love my spreadsheet. This is the Yearly 2.0 spreadsheet by Coplenty. I will link it down below. I do have a discount code, so feel free to purchase one of these templates and try it yourself. I find it so useful and so helpful. So we can put in my paycheck. So again, I had under budgeted because I actually didn't think I was gonna work an extra day, actually an extra like 10 hours. So we can put in $1,867.86 and an extra $317. Basically, that's all we can add up here. We can see I've already like paid a lot of my bills, which is exciting. And then down here is the expense tracker. So this is where I will also include any of the savings, like the emergency fund, joint account. That will all go down here because I like to make sure all the money has a spot. Even though that money's coming in and it's like in savings, it's not really money for me to spend. And then it also keeps track of it in like the savings section. $50 into my emergency fund, $150 into house fund, and then I will also add in the car payment. So I put $450 car payment. Pretty much, I think everything else I am not going to input yet. I've had a couple other expenses come out already. I still want to put a little bit more towards my car, my fitness membership. When that comes out, I can add it into here. Subscriptions, I keep track here. And then expenses, we can see I've already overspent a little bit in shopping and books. I do like to track, but obviously I'm not perfect. I go to Target, like I try my best to be balanced with everything and not focused so much on everything needs to be zero, like I can't spend money on this or that or whatever. I'm in a good spot right now where I feel very balanced in my spending. I've been thinking about it a lot lately, not because we're like trying to have a family just yet, but it is scary to think like, okay, when we have a kid, like how is that gonna fit into this budget, like when we have a house, whatever, which is why, as I mentioned, we are really trying to focus on like cutting out a lot of these major bills. Like obviously, push come to shove, like if we were to buy a house right now, I could just make the car payment, which would be $332, and like not put an extra $117. Like, we could make it work. It would be better if I just didn't even have the car payment, and then I would have a whole extra $450 from this paycheck to do whatever. That's where we're at in our head. Speaking of the car loan, let's do a little update for you guys. Like, I can't totally remember what the actual balance was the last time I gave my update, but obviously every single day on this loan I get interest, so even since the last update it's increased because I get interest every single day. The balance when I made the payment was $12,255. And then, as I mentioned, I made a $450 payment towards this car loan. $332.60 was towards the actual payment, and then $117.40 was extra towards the principal, which is also really awesome. When I can make these extra payments during the statement period, is I can specifically say I want this extra money to go towards the principal, and that helps directly affect like me saving money on the interest. So I made the payment technically yesterday, but when I log in today it can show me the new like payoff amount. So the loan is now at $11,808. So again, even though I made $450 payment, I still gained interest between these 2 days. I literally can't wait till we're like under 10,000. Like, that'll be so cool. Which hopefully won't be like too far away from now. Basically, the goal is to try and pay $1,200 every single month towards the car loan to have it paid off by December. If it like has to go into like the following like couple months, January, February, that's totally fine. But obviously I want to really, really try and push myself and like reach these goals. And then either way, I'll be super ecstatic at the end of the year, knowing that I've paid so much towards this car loan and that much closer to paying it off. But yeah, super exciting. As I think I said this last time, I always do better when I have a goal and like I'm trying to reach for something. So this helps me stay like super accountable because it's really fun, and like I'm tracking it and I'm posting about it on social media. That helps me stay accountable because like I'm posting it for other people to see. So if I have the support and accountability, then I'm gonna follow through most likely. That's where we're at. That's my budget. That's the car loan update. As always, thank you guys for watching these videos and supporting me. It helps me on this journey to pay off my car loan. I appreciate all of you guys so much. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video.